Welcome to Question It Podcast with Alexandra and
Janae, a space where we chat about any and everything. There's no topic too big or too taboo for us sisters to take on.
We promise to always give you uncensored questions and opinions.
Come on, let's chat.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Question It Podcast.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening in. We are so grateful for you guys that subscribed to our podcast this week, and hopefully after today, some more of you will click that like and subscribe button. So Shalix, what are we chatting about today?
So today we are going to chat about college experience during a pandemic. We know that is definitely something that has happened before in our history, but has definitely had a huge impact on a lot of people this year.
Well, not just this year, the past, what is it, like 2 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that we have two extra people in for the chatter for today. So, Shalix, do you want to go ahead and introduce them? Or?
Yeah, so today we have Zoe Butler and Lindsay Gray, and I'll hand it over to them and let them kind of talk about themselves a little bit.
Hi, my name is Zoe. I go to Elon University. I'm a senior math major, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I also go to Elon, and I am a film student with also a French minor.
Ooh, French. I didn't know you did that.
Yes.
French? Parlez-vous français? That was years ago. I don't speak any French anymore, but if I could, I would. So you guys are all three of you actually are seniors, which means I think that you had one normal year of college, right? And then the pandemic hit, is that right?
A year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's super interesting, because there's some people right now who have only known higher education or college through the pandemic. So what is it like for you guys, and anyone can take this question, having been through the normal college experience, I guess you would say, where you get to go to the parties and you get to go to face-to-face classes and you don't have to wear masks, to now like whatever you're doing.
I think for me personally, it was very different. Like, I don't know, I can't think of a better word right now, but I know going from in class, like in-person classes, and hanging out with your friends, and everybody's able to be in the dining hall, and you see people that you haven't met yet, and you see people that you just met in class, to going to a place where it's like there's a bunch of new students and you have no clue who's who because you've never seen their face, or you haven't had class with them, and there's nobody on campus where there's that in-person connection anymore. So I think it was very big on the mental health, going from a place where it was, there's so many people to talk to and you get to go outside all the time, and going to a place where now you have to be cooped up in your room and on a computer screen all day.
Yeah, I really value now the first year that we had as college students and just getting that real college experience. But then when the pandemic hit, everything just fell apart basically. And I know for me personally, and with my major, it's very hands-on. So having all my classes online, it was kind of difficult. So that's why I kind of appreciated the hybrid curriculum that Elon had during our junior year. But yeah, I think the pandemic has also limited opportunities for students and programs such as Study Abroad or Study USA, and just not being able to do that anymore because it's a pandemic and different countries have their own restrictions, and it's just a lot harder for students to get the opportunity to travel or just do anything else.
I agree with what y'all both said. And I feel like for me, it was honestly very disappointing. Like Shalk said, with the mental health, like being home for so long, it was really difficult. And not having that connection with people around us, it just felt so different. And knowing that we'll never get to experience that was just like the hardest part for me.
And when the COVID first started, at least in the US, that happened, I think, right around spring break or right before spring break. And then I know for my teachers, they were all like, okay, we'll be back in 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. And then now 2 years later, and you still see that it's going on, and that sure, there have been improvements and different modifications, but it's just not the same.
It's sad, like, because I went to college, I don't know, I graduated in 2017, I think. So even though I didn't live on campus, like I lived off campus, so I commuted every day, but it was just like, if I wanted to do something, I could. So it's very hard for me to like picture what you guys are going through. And like my heart breaks a little bit for you guys because like Zoe said and Shalik said, it's disappointing. And Lindsay, I know you said you're in like a film. Was it film?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I went to school for performance. And so like you said, it's that those are things that are very hands-on. And I can't even like grasp how I would do that not being in the classroom. It just sucks. So do you guys think you're dealing with it in like a good way, like the change, or like how are you coping with your college experience being completely like turned around on you?
Total 180. I think that in the beginning, like Zoe said, it was really hard. Like it was constantly either somebody's dying or somebody's losing their job, or this person's sick and nobody knows what to do, and the world is just clueless. So you have dealing with the world on top of dealing with, okay, I'm trying to get my degree. And I think in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of resources for students regarding their mental health or regarding, coping with it. It was kind of just, okay, stay in your dorm, stay away from people, and go on your Zoom classes. And being in a young age where you want to get with people and you want to talk to people and you're going to college, to have that college experience and then it totally being shut down like that weighs a lot. So in the beginning, it was very hard to deal with that, like figuring out, okay, how am I going to make sure that I pass my classes, but also stay safe and stay healthy during this time, like having that struggle. So I think a lot of people, there was a lot of increase in depression and increase in anxiety, increase in fear, not just with school, but also with the world. But I think as, 2 years now we're dealing with this still, I think there are more resources for students, or there's resources being talked about to be put out there for students at colleges and universities, and realizing the importance. I know Elon had a couple deaths due to suicide, and I know that some other universities, either I think close by, might have had a death also. So I think they're realizing the importance of like really being there for your students. So I think now in 2022 and late 2021, people are able to deal with it better.
That's interesting. So Shalix was bringing up the point of being like the school being there for you. Zoe and Lindsay, do you feel like the school was there for you? Do you feel like your needs were met, or?
Well, not in the beginning. And from experience, I just remember like I would try to go to counseling through the school, and it would take like 2 or 3 months to even get in. And once you got in, like you would only have 2 meetings, and then they would send you to a provider in the community. So it just wasn't really helping anybody, and a lot of people couldn't even have access to that. So I know some people were waiting for months. And I think just like last semester, they introduced free counseling for all students.
For me, I think my teachers, because we're all in the same boat, the teachers were also trying to be a little more caring and considerate, and not trying to being a little more lenient with deadlines for assignments, for example. And then them realizing that, okay, students need more time to do these things because their mental state isn't right. I'm not okay either. Like, we're all just going through this together. And so I think teachers, for me, really helped to just give us more time. But for the school itself, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. I would imagine that like the teachers would be more lenient, but do you think that the teachers being more lenient like compromise the level of higher education you were getting, or that you currently are getting? Like, do you feel like you're getting the same degree level now with the pandemic going on that you would versus prior?
And that's the thing. I think yes and no. I think just for my teachers and specifically, I just know for one of them, they were just lenient all the way around. Like, they just had everything just up for whatever for us to do. But I think that's just his teaching style. So that's just what I experienced from him personally. But I'm not sure how others are for other majors. And so, yeah.
I know that for the engineering department, I wouldn't say that they were very lenient, but I mean, they're strict over there. So, but if you did reach out to a teacher with concerns, or if you did reach out to a teacher like, I'm really struggling in this class, I'm struggling mentally, like life right now is just not okay for me. If you did reach out to them with that message or something related, I think they gave you extra time or gave you stretched out deadlines. But I wouldn't say that in the engineering department specifically, they were super lenient. Like, they still expected you to get the work done. They still expected you to be on the classes and be focused and still paying attention. But I guess it kind of ties in with real life, where no matter what's going on in the world, you still have to stay focused and you still have to get things done. So that's just specifically in my degree area.
For the math department, I felt like some teachers that I had were pretty lenient, but others, they really just stuck to the syllabus and whatever they had to teach us. Um, but for the most part, they tried to understand. And a lot of my teachers actually were struggling themselves, and they would tell us that they were struggling. Like, we may not have class today because I have this and I can't do class today. So I guess hearing that was kind of like, I don't know, like validating, because you know that you're not the only one struggling. Like, your teachers are too.
Yeah, the whole world was and still is struggling in some areas. And I know like there's a school around here in Ulster County in New York where they are at such a loss for teachers that they're like offering like the lunch area, the cafeteria area staff to be like substitute teachers and stuff like that, because there's not enough money to pay the teachers, and it's just money, resources, everything is so constrict or limited right now that it's like everyone's in the struggle boat together. Do you guys feel like, were you guys able to work during the pandemic? Like, I know that a lot of college students normally have some type of job or something so that they can eat what they want and party and pay their rent. Like, how did you guys survive monetarily during this pandemic?
I know for me, when it first started, I had interviews for different locations to work at over the summer, but because of the pandemic, it all got canceled. So I wasn't able to get, me or anybody else were able to get internships or internship credit for classes. But I did, my dad works, he has a small production company that he runs, and I kind of went under his wing to do different assignments and projects with him. So that kind of kept me still going with what I wanted to do, and just to get more experience as well.
For me, I think when we went home for spring break and didn't come back at the start of the pandemic, I think I had an on-campus job. And when I came back, I worked there over the summer, and I continued to work there throughout the pandemic. And on top of that, I've also tutored, and yeah, that was how I had to get money.
I know for me personally, I did have an internship, but it wasn't the full experience. Like, I was mainly, and I mean, it's a blessing because, I didn't have to pay for gas and yada, yada. But it was kind of also a loss because I wasn't able to always be there and, be in the factory and see the workers and really get that hands-on. It was more stay at home, like doing Excel sheets and all that fun stuff. So, but I know that there was a lot of cut internships and cut positions as soon as COVID hit and as soon as people started realizing how real it was.
Yeah, COVID, like the pandemic just caused a lot of loss, like you said, for a lot of people. And especially like hearing you guys' stories and like what you like experienced college-wise during the pandemic, it does seem like it's a lot of hits that you guys took. But we're just because we're about to wrap up and I don't want this to just be like a sad college experience episode. Can you guys tell like our listeners? I know some of them are young. I know some people are debating on whether they should go to college or not now because of the pandemic. So can you guys all go like around and say like one positive thing about like, would you still choose to go to college? And if so, why? And
I think for me, being that with my degree, engineering and everything, I would still choose to go to college. I would know that it's going to be a different experience, but if you're younger and it's kind of, you're already brought into that atmosphere, it's not really anything that would change for you. But I think the most positive thing about being in college during the pandemic, I guess, would just say like closer relationships. Even though I was home and classes were online for a period of time, I was able to make really close relationships with my teachers by reaching out and having that one-on-one time with them, whether it was studying or whether it was talking about the class. And now I still have that close bond with them. So I would say if I were you and I was thinking about going to college, I mean, that's a decision that you have to make, but it is an experience and you got to do what's best for you. It is something to think about. I wouldn't let the pandemic stop you from going to college if that's what you really want to do.
I agree. And also, my dad was going to make me go to college regardless. So I would have had to go anyways. But I still wanted to. And my parents, like both my dad and my mom, they both just really pushed me to go to college regardless. So, but yeah, I guess what I can say for a positive thing is that I was still able to study abroad during the pandemic. And some schools still weren't allowing students because of the cases rising and falling and just fluctuating. But yeah, and for my major, honestly, I guess you don't need a film degree to go into the film industry, but many people do, of course. And I think that it's better to have some kind of higher education, and no matter what profession you choose to go in. But again, that's up to you and your beliefs and values. But yeah, and I think having the college experience is something so unique and different, and it helps you. I think it really does help you grow and find more connections and networking and everything else. So yeah.
I agree with what they both said. And one thing I will say is that one positive thing that I did was change my major. And that was positive for me because I think I changed my major like my junior year. And you're not supposed to really do that because we're like, oh, that's kind of too late. But I changed it anyway, and I'm so much happier with my major now. And I would say for anyone looking to go to school, and you want to do like data analysis or like whatever I'm doing, I would say there are other ways to do it without going to school that are probably much cheaper. But if you want to go to school, don't let anything stop you. So.
yeah, that is, I think you guys all gave some great pieces of advice. Like the college experience is something, even right now during the pandemic, from what I hear, is something that like you shouldn't miss out on if you really did had your heart set on going. And the networking and experiences that you'll get still, even if it's over Zoom, is priceless. So thank you guys for joining. And I hope that shed a little bit of light on what it's like going to college during the pandemic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support our podcast, please share it with friends, chat about it on social media, and don't forget to leave a rating and a 5-star review.
And if you want to peek into our personal lives, you can follow Shalix at Shalexandra on Instagram and Janae at Young Black and Momming It. Whatever you do, make sure to follow the Question It podcast on YouTube and Twitter. We'll chat next week.